So we were discussing about type defined modifier. So I was telling about that how 2 to the power 32 is the only assignment which will which a normal integer will have, either it is negative or positive. So if we tell that the given number is unsigned, then this space reserved for that number will be 2 to the power 64, and this all 2 to the power 64 will be assigned to for positive numbers. Just opposite to unsigned, the signed type defined modifier is there. If we define a number as signed modifier, then the compiler will know that this number is gonna be either positive or negative. So if it is negative, the whole space will be reserved for negative numbers, and if it is positive, the whole space will be reserved for positive numbers. In that way, there will be less limitation in the number in this in the storage of that certain number in the memory. Now after signed and unsigned, we will discuss about short. Don't get confused by its name. Actually, it is for higher valued numbers. So if we want to store a number as short, then its value has to be at least of 16 bits. Okay, it should be at least 16 bits, then we can store it. Now okay, we can store less value numbers using short also. Now what is 16 bits? I told you that there we have 0 and 1 as binary number representation, right? Binary number representation. Okay, so bits are basically collection of these binary numbers, like 1 0 0 1 1 1 0 0 0. These all are bits, and if we count the number of bits, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, that means this is a 7-bit number. Okay, so I will give you a quick demonstration that how to convert a certain number into binary, and how to convert that binary to the decimal number. Decimal is like 2 3 4 5 7 8 9, like that. Okay, for example, we have a given number 1 1 1. Now this is not a decimal number, it's not 111, it is a binary number which is 111. So every binary number has a power of 2. For example, like in case of decimal number 1.20, we know that it is 120 into 10 power minus 2, right? So here it is a decimal number, and we have 10 power something. So in decimal number, how decimal, like binary, we know why binary exists, because it is true false, like anything is going to be true or anything is going to be false. So that's why binary system exists. What's the point of having decimal system? Decimal means dec means 10. Why we have 10 base system? Because we have 10 fingers. That's why there is no logical explanation for that. We have 10 fingers, so it is easy to count, something like that. Okay, so just like that, I wrote 1.20 as 120 to 10 power minus 2. Similarly, if we have 111, then this 1 is associated to 2 to the power 0. This is associated to 2 to the power 1. This is associated to 2 to the power 2. So in this case, if we have to write the corresponding decimal number, the corresponding binary number, then we will calculate it as follows: 1 into 2 to the power 0, 1 into 2 to the power 0, plus 1 into 2 to the power 1, plus 1 into 2 to the power 2. This is the, then this will be 1 plus 2 plus 4, okay, and it will be 4 6 7, okay. Yep. So this is the binary number representation for 7. Okay, now if you want to convert this 7 into decimal decimal number into this binary number, then we will divide it by 2 and correspondingly note the remainders. If you have 7 and we divide by 2, then 2 3 is 6 and 1 is remainder, we mark 1. Now we will divide by 2, 2 1 are 2, so again 1 is remainder, we mark it, and again 1 is left, we mark it. So we write the decimal number, we write the binary number as a sequence from down to up, like this 1 1 and 1. This 1 is not this one, this one is this one, okay. and we go like that. Now this is the binary number. This is the binary number for this decimal number. Okay, so this is binary number representation of which is of 7 bits. Similarly if we have a very large number, and if we have short, that number is defined as short int a something. Okay, so that number can have at least 16 bits in its representation. Just like, for example, if I have a number say 125, then I will find this is a decimal number, right? Correct, because it is in the base of 10. How it is base of 10? It is 5 into 10 power 0 plus 2 into 10 power 1 plus 1 into 10 power 2. So it is a decimal number. If we convert it to a binary number, then it can have at least 16 bits. Then it is a short number. And if we talk about long, then it will have 32 bits. Okay, I think this concept is clear to you, what I am trying to say. Now I will move forward and I will discuss about the further basics of computer programming language, which is C++, which is derived data types. Okay, so what is derived data types? We have arrays, functions, pointers, references. Don't worry about references, it's not currently, you will not be able to understand these topics like pointers and references, so I'm not going to discuss them in so much detail. Then we have class and we have structures. Okay, class is the soul of C++. Before C++ we had C language, and it got C++ because of introduction of class. So class made C++ what it is today. Class is very interesting topic. If I get a chance, I will obviously like to discuss it with you guys. Okay, C++ is have the soul of class. Class is soul of C++. So first of all, arrays. So I'm not going to discuss this in very much detail because they are individually they are very important topics. So I will just give an overview of how these things work. So what are arrays? Basically, arrays. For example, in a computer program, I want to store a data type I want to store data with multiple times, and it is of same type. Okay, multiple data of same type, and in that case I use arrays. Okay, so I told you about what we understand by word arrays. Arrays are used to store multiple data of same type. For example, just consider that I have to store a data type. Say I want to store something like, I want to store the result of all students in subject science. Okay, so in this case, now the data associated with the result, with the attribute result of subject science is integer. Say we can use float, but 89 and half is 90 eventually. So the result value is integer, and we cannot create same program again and again and again. So we don't want to create same thing again and again. For example, I want to store the result of a class into a program. I can do one thing, like I will say, I will ask I will write a program. Computer will ask that enter the marks of student 1. I will type okay 70. Then again I will create a new program which will ask enter the marks of student 2. I will say okay 81, and so on. If the strength of the class is 40, there will be 40 records created. Like, consider a case like for a single program, half of the memory is used. There is wastage of the memory. So we have a better way to do this. We call them arrays. What arrays do? We don't have to create 40 records for a single program. We can create a you can say like we have a storage box, sort of storage box. Instead of keeping single thing in 40 box, we create a single box of uh, 40 40 holes, sort of. You can say that it is we have a box of 40 souls for 40 locations. Yes, instead of creating 40 boxes with single locations in each box, we create a single box with 40 locations. And so we do not have to worry about the memory usage. By this way we define arrays. So I'm not gonna write the program of the arrays, it is a different topic. I'm just giving a introduction that what array is. Okay, so we will not use one program again and again. Instead of that, we will create an array, and we will define the limit of that array, that it will be having a limit of 40, and we will store the values using a method which is called in which we use loops. Okay, we will discussing about loops later. So okay, now I will talking about the function. So now the next question is, what is function? What is function in general language, in general English? Function is basically which is what we say what is a function is. In a mathematics, you know what is a function is. You must have studied about relations and functions. Okay, a relation is simply like a is related to b with some way. A function of on the other hand, a function is sort of unique. Like every pre-image has a unique image. Just like that, functions are extended in C++ programming. So that's what I like about computer programming. Like the things you study in mathematics are practically implemented here. And I want everyone to be careful and think like that what you studied in mathematics and how they are practically implemented in computer programming. They might not be exactly same, but they have an essence of that. They're basically borrowed from mathematics. Okay, especially when you are designing the logic of the program. Okay, so what is a function now? So function is defined or designed to do a particular task. Basically, it has a unique set of pre-images, and it's going to give a unique image with every pre-image. It's just like that. Like for every unique values, it is going to give a certain fixed value. Now I will discuss that what I want to tell about a function using this concept. So consider a case like we have an integer a and integer b, and I want to add this integer and print the result. Using simple program of C++, you can do like you will declare a, okay, then you will declare b, then you will declare sum. Okay, you will enter the values of a. Okay, done. Now you will enter the value of b. This a value which you entered will be stored in memory. Similarly, b will be stored in memory. And when we will call sum, okay, what now sum wants. Now what we want to do, how we want to sum to be acting, like to add the values which are assigned to a and b. So this value of a will be extracted from memory, b will be extracted, and sum will be assigned. Okay, this equal to does not means that sum is equal to a plus b. Basically, this equal to is not equal to, it is assignment. That the result of a plus b is assigned to sum. Sort of it is copied to sum. Okay, it does not mean that it is equal to. In C++, equal to is this. This operator is equal to. This is assignment operator. We'll talk about operators later. Okay, so sum is a plus b now. Okay, now consider another case. So in a simple program I will print this. Okay, now what if I want to do this again and again, and if I do not have two variables, instead I have four variables. And no, I am not saying that I want to add four variables. I am saying that I want to add them as a set of two. Like I want to add a plus b, then I want to add c plus d, then I want to add e plus f. And what if I want to like a plus b and result of a plus b with c? Okay, that's other topic. We will discuss about it later. It's under recursion. Leave it. Okay. You didn't heard what I say. Okay, you didn't hear what I say. So if I want to add a plus b, c plus d, and e plus e and f like that, then okay, it's simple. I will create the program. I will create the program just like I created here, and I will go like that. Similarly, like I will declare a, I will declare b, assign values to a and b, and I will declare sum, and I will assign values sum of a plus b to sum. Similarly, I will declare c and d and do the same part, and I will declare e and f and I will do same part. But this is not required. Why to do same job again and again? Computer is dumb, you are not dumb, right? So that's for that reason we have C++. If you will ask computer to do this again and again, it will do it. It's a dumb machine. You're not a dumb. You're not dumb machine, right? You're intelligent person, rather most intelligent creature on the earth has ever created. Okay, whatever. Now C++. So what C++ provide is the functionality functionality of function. Functionality of function. So instead of doing this job again and again, or if I want to add sum and performing the primitives of some function, some summing of addition again and again, I will define a function named sum, and I will give two variables of into the sum. These are called arguments. Are they called arguments or they are called parameter? They are called parameter. Sorry, they are called parameters. Okay. I will say sum x and y. These x and y are integers. Okay. I'm not talking about declaration or syntax. I'm just trying to define and trying to explain the process and the concept here. Okay. So don't worry about the syntax now. So these are parameters which will be passed. For example, I want to do sum of a and b. So I will just pass a and b. Now sum will return me some value. Okay. Similarly, if I want to do sum c and d, I will just do this. Instead of declaring again and again and adding again and again, I don't have to do that. If I want to e and f, I will just do it. Okay. This way, it's not messy, it's not repetitive, and it's not dumb. Okay, just like that. Now it is also important that I define a data type, that what will be the result of the sum. For that I have to define the data type of the function int, because we don't know what is going to be the result of that function. Okay, that's how I described and defined what do we understand by word function. Now after function, we have another kind of derived data type which is called pointers. So what is pointers? So don't worry about pointers. Pointers is a very vast topic, and actually it's the only topic which is sort of difficult for programming. So I will just give a as idea of pointers, that what is pointers and why it is important. Okay. Okay, first of all, I would like to tell you that in the previous video I made a mistake about telling you about the initialization of memory. When any program is in any program, if there is a declaration of a variable, the memory as assignment is not in the secondary memory, that is hard disk. It is always in RAM, random access memory, not in ROM, because ROM is read-only memory, and it is not erasable. For example, all the information about the booting of your Windows is saved on ROM, and RAM is random access memory, because on RAM we have to initialize the variable, and we have to de-initialize it also, deallocate it also after allocating it. That's why we use RAM. Okay, so I'm talking about pointers here. We are not discussing pointers in details because it's a very vast topic, and currently my video is not scoped for it, because I also have to learn it to teach it. Okay, so what is pointers basically and why it is required? I will tell you. See, everywhere it is said that pointers is the most difficult topic of all. and I don't think we have pointers in class 11th, so you will be seeing pointers in class 12th according to Indian education system. So pointers are basically used because it increases the access time. And why is that? Consider a case. For example, we have a variable a, and it is an integer, and we assigned it value 23. Now this a will be initialized, and the memory allocation will be done in the RAM. And when we have to access this variable a, then there's a thing that it will be accessed from RAM. Okay. Now there are concepts like physical address and logical address. So from the variable, we are going to the address to access it. So there is a conversion in between, and it takes some time. Like from this variable, when this variable is declared, now in order to access it, we will go to logical address. Okay. Then from logical address, we will go to physical address. I'm not sure, maybe first is physical address, then logical address, make it sure, like it's something like that, and then we will access the variable. What I'm trying to say is there is a conversion and it takes some time, right? Now the problem is, as it takes some time, there is a delay in access of this variable. Now what if I have a variable which points to the address directly, so we can access the variable in less amount of time? That's why we use pointers. For example, we have a variable int a is equal to 24, and on the address it is saved as say 100. At 100 we save 24. It is integer, so it will take 2 bytes. Okay, here we save the integer. Now what if we have a variable which points to this location, and through this location we access the variable? For that we use pointers. Okay, so just consider a case how we declare the pointers. We declare the pointers as int star a. Now this a is a variable that points to the address. Say it is not a, it is a1. This a1 points to this address, and from this address we can access this variable. Okay, this increases the access time. Okay, decreases the access time, sorry. And star a1 is the value at the address which is pointed by this variable a1. Okay, so I will not go to further detailing of all these and things, because for understanding the working of pointers we have to learn all other concepts like arrays, structures, then and functions. Then only we can go beyond the scope, and this video is not currently to that scope, so I'm just focusing on the concepts here, not the implementation and programming part. Okay, so after this I am talking about class. So yeah, class is the main main soul of the C++ programming. C became C++ only when we declared class to C. So C plus class is C++ basically. And why it is plus plus, not C plus? Because plus plus is increment operator. When in programming when we have to increment anything, like if we have to make 2 to 3, we have to make 2 to 3, we have to increment 2. If we have to increment a, then we say a plus plus, we never say a plus. Okay, a plus plus. So that's why it's C++. It's the language of programming. So that's how it is. So what is class now? Class, okay, class basically what it does is the main objective of defining classes is to link the programming to the real world applications and real world problems. So the reason why C++ is so popular is because because of the presence of class and the concepts of object oriented programming. So I will tell you about two things: what is a class and what is an object. Okay, Okay, so first of all I will talk about class. So class is basically a blueprint for an object. So many people say that the number of objects makes a class, or class is head and objects are its bodies. It's not that case. Okay, class is basically the definition that what's an object, what how an object is going to behave, that what properties that object is going to have. This is defined by a class. So you can say that class is a blueprint and object is the implementation of that blueprint. Okay, for example, consider a case that I have two classes. Okay, class say polygons, and I have a class rectangle. Okay, and in class polygon I have int a and int b. Okay, variables. These variables are defined in this class. And in class rectangle I have int area. Okay, yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but just consider what I'm trying to say. Okay, now the class polygons have int a, which tells that what is the type, what is the type of polygon we are having. Maybe it's hexagon, it is pentagon, rectangle, square. And b is an optional variable sort of. Okay, it can be 0, it can be more. Like in a class we can define b as 0 also if the polygon is fixed, sort of equal sized polygon, like rectangle, a square, because in a square we don't need any breadth, only length is sufficient. Same goes for, or we can have number of ways to assign these values. We can even we can make b and a equal if we have such kind of polygons. In a rectangle it will be a into b. Now what I'm trying to say is, if there is a class named polygon, okay, there is a class named polygon, and in this the blueprint tells that this class polygon has two variables which are a and b. So any object which is created through this class will have only two kind of dimensions, two kind of attributes, which are int a and int b. Basically two integers will be assigned within the object of class polygon. So if I create an object ob1, then this object will have only two kind of properties, which are a and b. Okay, because the scope of this class is only to these two elements. Now if I look at the class rectangle, and now if I create an object obj ob2, now this object of class rectangle will have only one attribute, which is area. This is how it works. Okay, so clearly we can say that this class rectangle defined the blueprint for this object, that how this object is going to behave. Now this is the basics, that what is a class and what is an object. Okay, I'm not going into the detail of OOPS here because it's very vast topic, just focusing on the basics, that how it is actually everything. Okay, now we have structures. So structure is okay, C language also have structures, and it's the highest implementation of togetherness of data in C. Structures are basically highest implementation of togetherness of data. That structures are the highest implementation in C language, where we can see multiple types of data processing together or occurring together. So what we do, suppose we have a module means a body, and we want this body should have an integer, a float, and a double, and the processing of this whole module should go hand in hand. Okay, so we use structures for this kind of things. Like we can define a struct a struct st, and we can define that it has an integer a and it has an uh, float B and it has a double C. So whenever I define a variable of this structure type st, then that st type will have these all types of variables in it. So yeah, you can see that it little bit resembles with the class, but no, there is a difference between structure and a class. In a class you can define functions also within the class. Basically function can be a member of class, but we cannot define functions in structures. This is because the C language C language is a procedural language, and C++ is not procedural language, it is object oriented language. And C is top down approach. It follows top down approach, from top to down. This is how the compilation works, and this follows bottom up approach, because object is created first, then we go to the class to look to see that what this object is having. Okay, that's how it works. Okay. Okay, now I will be talking about C++ operators. Okay, so in general language, what is an operator? Operator is basically what is used to operate between two things. Okay, so we have basically three types of arithmetic operators. So these are addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. This gives the division, the divider basically. Okay, divider, or I think it gives the quotient. It gives the quotient. Okay, and we have percent operator, which gives the remainder. So consider this case, like you know how plus work, what is plus, what is negative, minus, what is percent multiplication. Now I will tell about these two things. So if we have say 4 by 2, then its answer is 2. So 2 is its quotient, right? Now if I do 4% 2, then it is 0. Why? Because this percent operator tells us what is the remainder, and remainder is 0 in this case, and this tells about the quotient, and quotient is 2 in this case. That's how the plus and percentage works. So we can make a program about it, that how these things operate. So it's very easy to perform. Like say we have main, and I declared int a and b. Okay, then I said cout addition. I say int a, b and c. It is c addition. Okay, then okay, I used a Hindi word here, no problem at all. Cout is addition. Now I will say c is equal to a plus b, and cout addition result is c. Now what, here is a problem. There is a problem in this piece of code, because compiler will not know what it has to print here, because we have not given the inputs yet. So in order to give the inputs, we have to use here cin a and b. So once we take inputs of a and b, then only we can assign the values of a and b to c, and we can print the result as c. Similarly, we can after addition we can follow up c is equal to a star b. Similarly, we can do a divided by b, we can do a percent b, a minus b. Number of cases are there. Okay, now this is about the arithmetic operators. We also have logical operators. Okay, so what is logical operator? Logical operators are basically dealing with true or false conditions. Okay, so we have AND operators, we have OR operators. So if I have to confirm that if I have to see two cases at same time, then we use AND operator, and if we are not certain about the two cases, we use OR operator. Either this should be true or this should be true. Okay, so logical operators are the AND operator, and it is denoted by AND, and we have OR operators, it is denoted by like that, like this, or you can use this also, it's same thing. So uh, in the flow of control topic, I will discuss about the logical operators in more detail, that how we use these operators and how basically we implement them. Okay, that's all for the C++ operators. Okay, we have one more other kinds of operators also. First of all, the most important one are relational operators. Okay, so what are relational operators? Basically, relational operators deals about the relations, that how two variables are related to each other. So we have equal to operator. So it tells if it basically deals with the conditions if two variables are equal. If we say A is equal to B, then it says that A is equal to B. Okay, and we have not equal to. If you say A is not equal to B, then this says A and B are not equal to each other. Similarly, we have less than, we have greater than. We can use less than, greater than alongside with less than, equal to, or greater than equal to. It is noted as less than equal to, greater than equal to, like that. Okay, and also later on we have another operator which is a relational operator, and it is the assignment operator. It is very important one. Operator, assignment operator is denoted by this. Yes, the equal to in mathematics is assignment operator. This operator and this operator is not same, they are very different from each other. I will tell you how an assignment, what does basically assignment operator denotes. So assignment operator, so assignment operator is basically assigning a value to a variable. If I say A is equal to B, it's not equal to, basically the value of B is assigned to A. The right hand side value assigned to left hand side, and it's always like this. If we say A is 3, then 3 value, the value 3, the amount, the integer 3 is assigned to A. Okay, this is how assignment operator works. I will tell how it is implemented in programming in the flow of control topic, okay, later on. So this is the relational operators. We have already discussed about logical operators, and we have bitwise operator. I'm not going to discuss it because I don't think it is required now. You have to like go into the details of working of bitwise things, that how on the binary level a data is operated, then only we can discuss about bitwise operators. Okay, so that's all for the operators, logical operators and relational operators and arithmetic operators.